See, anyway, guys, so right now I am in terms of a different predicament over here. I'm trying to grow myself, I'm trying to do the best I can for myself, but I have to discipline myself more. I have to do something today to succeed. I have to make sure that I'm disciplining myself through life so that I can see much better and so I can do much better. But do you know how bored I am right now? It's like my day today is like it's a new day. I'm understanding I have work to do, but sometimes when you're doing that work, it gets boring, you understand? And the thing is that life is boring for everybody. You have to understand, even God's bored to some degree. You understand? Even God, when he's doing his passions, he's still bored. You understand? He's still bored to some degree because you have to feel that meaning. You have to feel that sense of time with words. You have to fill in your time with words so that you can really, really benefit yourself in the long run. But you have to understand something. You have to understand that there is no better place than home. I promise you. Do you know why? Because when you're at home, you're the best. You have everything that you need at home. You don't want to go anywhere. You just want to stick at home. You want to stick to staying at home just for the fun of it. Just to be interesting with yourself and just to do things with yourself. The thing is that I have peace right now. I have peace and quiet in my house over here. I realize nobody's bothering me. You understand? So the thing is that I'm always doing the best I can. And since I'm doing the best I can, I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to develop myself in words and stuff like that. So that I can grow myself and so that I can inspire someone to grow. But that's the most important thing, to just inspire people. Yes, and inspire yourself every single day to see exactly where you're going and what you're doing out and what you're doing about life and what you can muster up for yourself. But you have to understand that eventually I have to go to the 9 to 5 job. And I have to work a 9 to 5 job eventually. And that's after my dad passes away. I see life is going to get much more, let's say, tougher on me in terms of life. It's going to be tougher. And why is it going to be tougher? Because I understand it's going to be me working a 9 to 5 job, whereas before I was doing my passions instead of the 9 to 5 job. Do you understand? But the thing is that it's much more how I can fulfill my passion through words anywhere. And I can be speaking words just to learn and just to grow. And that's the most important thing, that when you're growing yourself every single day, when you're reading as much as possible, when you're trying to help yourself to grow, approach it, that's the most interesting thing. And you have to expand. You have to understand every single day to expand as much as you can so that you can live life. Do you understand? Because if you're not growing, guys, you're dying. You understand? So most people are dying in life. You have to understand, most people don't read daily. They have nothing to read. Do you understand? They don't invest money in books to better their mindset and stuff like that, but they're not bettering their habits. And you have to understand that you have to better your habits. You have to understand every single day to always treat everything in a new way. And you have to always grow yourself from what you can muster up for yourself. Because that's the way it is. You have to do something today to succeed. And you have to understand that is the way forward. I mean that's the way forward. So you have to understand every single day that when I life coach for a reason. And because I life coach from a feeling point. I go in my feelings to coach. And what my feelings say is what I do. You understand? I do what my feelings want me to do. You understand? So right now I feel that I have to do better. But it's my birthday coming up now tomorrow. See, today is the 27th of May 2022. But tomorrow on the 28th of May 2022 is my birthday. And it's going to be a new step forward. I'm entering my 30s. And you have to understand that at a certain point of time, in terms of when you turn 30, I understand that they're saying that the semen level of a person starts dropping down slowly. You understand? So you have to understand that men's sperm starts to drop in volume after age 30. You understand? And that's what they're saying. So you have to be at the prime time of your life. You have to understand every single day you have to do the best job for yourself. And you have to grow yourself every single day. So the ways I grow, guys, right now is I try to adapt myself to what is happening in the life that I have right now. And what's happening in my life now is I'm at home a lot. In my life, I'm at home. I'm traveling very soon. So the thing is, I have a few things to do before I go to Germany to see my mum. I have to make sure that I do some things for her. and for myself, and I have to make sure that I'm always living life to the fullest as much as I can. And now I'm always living fully to some degree. I promise you, everyone's living fully to some degree in life. But you have to live better. You have to do everything in regards to bettering your habits every single day, because only you can do that, and no one and nobody can stop you from anything that you want to do. You have to understand that you're the only person in your life who can stop you. And you have to understand that when you grow yourself, you always grow yourself the best way you can. And just keep doing your work, keep uploading content, keep making sure that you're doing the best job that you can for yourself. Because it takes time. You understanding everything takes time in life. So you always have to benefit yourself in the long run. I see, guys, so you have to always try your best. I mean, try your best through life. But the thing is that you have to adapt through life through information. You understand? The best way I adapt through information is from what I learned today. And that's the most interesting thing about life, is that you can always learn some more information. And there's always some more information out there for you to grow your attitude. Because you have to grow your attitude. You have to understand that your attitude has to grow. You have to make sure that you're adapting to your attitude in a better way. And you have to understand that all you're really selling is your attitude, as Dr. Wayne Dyer says. So every single day you have to understand that when you adapt to information, then you're going to be much more inclined to work in a pace that is much greater for you. So you always make sure that you're always willing to do that for yourself, where you're growing yourself in different ways and where you're always developing yourself, because that's how you grow. So you have to practice your life coaching. You have to practice who you are. You have to understand that every single day is going to be a new day. And you have to understand that you have to grow within that new day for yourself all the time. So the best way I grow now is through information. Yes, and so I do more information and I read more information daily. And that's what helps me to drive me forward, for example. But recently I've been staying away from Netflix for a bit, because I've been doing a lot of work in terms of music production, and also in terms of my quotes, in terms of uploading content and transcribing my quotes online. But sooner than later, I understand that very soon I'm going to get on Netflix. I'm going to watch some Netflix and stuff like that to do my life over here in a nice and beautiful fashion. And it's much more how you always have to grow yourself in a different way. You have to understand to always find ways to grow yourself and never be bored. I mean, never be always doing nothing. I mean, do something in life. Make sure that you're always pushing yourself to grow, because that's the best way forward. You understand? You have to understand every single day you have to always do the best you can. You have to always grow yourself no matter what. So you have to understand to talk about things. I mean, talk about the crowd, talk about something, talk about where you are going through your life. And if you're falling down, guys, make sure that you fall up in terms of learn from your mistakes and stuff like that, so that you're really, really going to benefit yourself in the long run. Because if you're not benefiting yourself right now in some areas, then speak words. I mean, speak as much words as possible, and just learn to show people the way. Yes, and show people the best way forward, and learn to appreciate yourself for what you are in daily life. Do you understand? Because when you do that, you have much more happiness by appreciating yourself, and then you can appreciate in life. You can always understand how to do that. You can grow yourself within that, and when you appreciate someone, you just make sure that you appreciate yourself. And how do you appreciate people? I mean, you have to understand to love yourself. You have to understand that you have to do stuff to love yourself daily, and you have to grow yourself in the moment, and you have to do stuff for yourself that where you're going to help yourself to grow and stuff like that. So you're just helping yourself to manifest something of your dreams every single day, talking on camera, doing something on audio programs and stuff like that as much as possible, and just documenting yourself every single day is what you need to be doing all the time. So you have to understand that right now I'm adapting very quickly to information, and the way the way I adapt to information quickly is I read more. You understand? I read more about life, and because I read much more about life, I understand what to do and how to do it. But you have to always understand to write in your journal as much as possible, so that you can unlock your abilities and so you can see what's happening in your life. So, for example, understand that time reveals everything in terms of what you're going to be doing through life. And you have to understand that each and every single day you're always lifting up much more responsibility for yourself. And you have to understand that you have to start making some money in your life. And you have to understand that it's better to have money than not to have money. And when you make some more money, then you can always have a family because you have more money and a job, for example. But you have to understand that your 9 to 5 job is not your passion. Actually, what you do after a 9 to 5 job is your passion. You understand? So you have to always do your passion. So the thing about me is that I'm thankful for God for letting me be single right now, because I can do my passions. I can really, really dig in deep to my passions, and I can do my passions daily. And that's what helps me to grow. You understand? Because you have to understand that when I see music producers and stuff like that, when they make music, and the reason they can pull off melodies is because they have piano talent. Approach they have the piano, they have the piano in their studio, and they play the piano, and they play the piano in their studio, and they're really good at piano. And because they're really good in piano, they can pull off melodies and stuff like that. And I see that now. But you have to always expand your knowledge, do you understand? And the best way you can do that is just read daily something. Because when you read something daily, you're going to always prosper in what you read, because you're going to be much more aware about life itself. So you're always dwelling on a better way for yourself, and you're always doing something for yourself that's good. You understand? Because that's how you adapt to information. You adapt to information quickly every single day. You make sure that you're always like a Speedy Gonzalez, making sure that you're always doing what you need to do in daily life that's going to help you to muster up challenges and to really, really seek out help for yourself. So when you seek out health, when you seek out health and help, you always find a way. So I promise you, if there's a way forward, I promise you have to find it. You have to find that way forward. But you have to understand that in life, you have to stay away from most things. You have to understand to go inside for help. And the more you go inside for help, the more you can treasure yourself, and the more you can find what to do, for example. So life is different for everybody. And you have to always help yourself to grow. You understand? You have to always develop yourself in the best way. But if you're someone who's fat, for example, you have to always adapt with information. You have to understand that you're not going to be fat forever. And the thing is that your problems will eventually go away if you have solutions. You understand? So you have to be solving people's problems in order to solve your own problems in life. And the way you do that is you speak words. You understand? You speak much more words into the planet. You do things like that for yourself. And then you'll find a way forward for yourself. You'll find exactly what you need to do on a daily basis to succeed. Because there's always a way forward, guys. And where there's a will, there's a way. You understand? If you will yourself to succeed, nothing can stop you. You understand? Nothing can stop your success if you're willing to grow. So you always have to deal with life on a daily basis in a beautiful way. You have to always understand to never rely on other people to do anything for you. You have to understand to go your own path. And you have to always do the best you can. So when I'm always growing myself, I'm adapting to information, because I'm always seeking out that information from other people, and that feeds my mindset. Do you understand? It feeds on my mindset to grow, and the more I grow, the better I am, and the more healthier I am. You understand? Because I put habits, I make sure that my habits are doing better in some areas, and I'm always helping myself to unlock greater potential for myself to do the best life possible. So right now, my life is not difficult right now. I promise you, it's not difficult to succeed right now. I understand that. But the thing is that I've been letting myself down with my habits. So I have to better my habits. I have to make sure that you understand that everybody has flaws and nobody's perfect. But everyone's perfect at the same time with what they have, for example. So you always have to think of life in two ways. You understand? There's always a yin and yang to everything that you say. And there's always neither, and there's always a conversation that you can make with yourself and other people to grow yourself. Do you understand? So the best way to make conversation is with yourself. You make that conversation with yourself every single day, and you always find much more of what you want to talk about with people, for example, because you're willing to do it for yourself. You understand? And the more you talk with yourself, the more you can always spark attention for yourself, to where you can grow yourself, where you can become the best version of yourself. because that's what it's all about. So you have to always deal with life on a daily basis in a new way, and you have to grow every single day the most you can. So that's how I grow, through adapting through information, and I always learn much more of everything as much as possible, and that way I'm expanding my knowledge. Do you understand? But people who don't read are going to be less smart throughout life, so you have to always make sure that you're benefiting yourself in the long run, and you have to do something for yourself to succeed. You understand? So that's how it is. So it's much more how you have to talk, you have to abbreviate, you have to make sure that you can breathe. You understand? Make sure you can breathe, make sure that you can do something for yourself to succeed. But you have to understand that when you're down and out, you have to have hope. You have to have hope that you can change. You have to have hope that you can grow every single day, that you can do the best job for yourself every single day, that you can do something for today where you're going to benefit yourself and other people, because that's what it's all about. So you have to always help yourself to grow, you understand? Because that's the only way you adapt to information much more quickly. So when you're adapting to information, you're just reading much more, and you're just making sure that you're doing something on a regular basis to grow. So right now I feel that I'm in discomfort at the moment because I'm growing, you understand? And because I'm growing, you have to understand I'm always growing, I'm always in discomfort to some degree. You understand? My feelings right now are in discomfort. You understand? I feel discomfort right now. And why is that? Because I'm growing. And emotionally, you have to understand that when you're alone, you go inside for help. You understand? Because you have to understand you have the answer within you to how you want to live life. You have the answer right now inside of you to what you need to do today to succeed. So you have to understand I have two passions in life. I have my music production and I have my life coaching. And I do good in both, for example. But I'm doing much better than before in my life in some areas. You understand? But the thing is that when I find myself obese or fat or something like that, you have to understand right now I'm much more overweight than I was, in terms of, I'm not as obese as before, but I have become overweight, for example. And you have to understand that how I adapt to it is I do information work. You understand? I do something around information, and that helps me to grow, and that helps me to become the best version of myself. You understand? So what becomes the best version of yourself is the wisdom you have. And the wisdom that you have is always going to lead you in the best path. But you have to take the action necessary every single day to make sure that you're doing something today to better your life, because nobody's going to better your life for you. You have to do that work for yourself, and you have to do the inner work for yourself. You have to do what's best for you. You understand? Because if you don't do what's best for you, then you're not going to have the best life. You understand? You're always going to be a shell of the person you were. You understand? If you don't do the best work every single day. So you always have to understand that there's always a way for you to do better in life. And you have to find that better way for yourself. You have to define it. And I mean, you have to put meanings to it every single day. You have to develop yourself. And the more you reason with life, the more you can get to understand life. You understand? Because life is always. And the more you have meaning in life, the more you can actually live, and the more you can actually do, and the more you drive yourself to do better. You understand? So that's what you need to do for yourself every single day, is create more meaning in your life. You understand? Because when you create more meaning in your life, you're always going to find much more will in your life to succeed. And that's what happens with me, for example. I realize when I'm not doing too good in some areas, I try to speak the best words in the planet. And then I find myself motivating myself to do better. You understand? And then when I fail, I pick myself back up again, and I try again and again and again until I succeed. You understand? So if I'm failing in life right now, you have to understand that I am failing in life to some degree at the moment, because I still have to put those disciplines in my mind, and I have to stick by the disciplines of life. Otherwise, life gets very tiring. And so you have to always grow yourself the best way you can. And when you grow yourself the best way you can always find that way. So you can find the will to succeed. But that's how it is, guys. You have to grow yourself the best way you can. You have to do things for yourself every single day It's going to help you move forward, because nothing else happens in life other than that. You have to change. You have to change your mindset. You have to become the renewing of your mind. Every single day you have to renew your mind. You have to nourish your mind. You have to nourish your mind with good foods. That's going to help you to have more energy. And you have to stay away from food as much as possible to have more energy. Do you understand? So never overeat. Never overeat in your life. Make sure you have small samples of food when you eat. And that's going to be enough for you to grow. You understand? So you have to always grow yourself no matter what you're doing. And you always have to find that way. You understand? You have to follow that path for yourself. And never be afraid. You understand? Never be afraid to follow that path for yourself. Because you can always succeed. You can always do that job for yourself where you're doing better. So if you are learning from this audio program, then I congratulate you, because I've said some things in this audio program to lift you. And you have to always understand that there's always a way to lift people. So you always have to do the work, and you have to make sure that you're living life. So anyway, guys, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this program, and see you guys in the next program. See, guys, so I've been making a lot of music come true for me, and you have to understand that I'm on another level now in terms of my music production. And what I've done was recently I sent my music track to a host of people, and I got some good feedback, and I have a nice and beautiful track in terms of, it's called Like No Other. So if you write Danny Milivojevic Like No Other original mix on YouTube, you'll find it. And the thing is that when I produce music now, I'm understanding much more about how to make a music track work, and how to make pluck instruments, and also how to go about presets and also arrangement inside of my music production. But I understand much more how to make a simple and effective track, like my friend said. For example, I sent him a track that I done, and he said my music track is simple and effective, and he said, "Oh, trance track." I mean, yeah, I mean that's the way it is. So it's much more how sometimes you have to say that you're close with someone, so that other people can make you much more greater in their eyes. So for example, what I've done with my friend over here, I recently said to him that I'm friends with Sunset Brothers, and I'm close with Sunset Brothers and stuff like that. And it's much more, I said that because I want him to view me in a way that I'm much more bigger in his eyes, like I have connections kind of thing. You understand? So it's much more how I am close with Sunset Brothers, but the thing is I've never met them in my life in terms of personally, but I did go to their festivals and stuff like that, and they can understand me by what I'm doing in terms of life. But it's much more how you have to always grow. You have to understand every single day is going to be a new day, and you have to inspire yourself somehow. So what I'm doing recently is I've been watching other people make music, and I'm still going to go and watch this guy make music. For example, it's going to be a 4-hour course, I think. I mean, let me check. I mean, it's simple over here. I see it's like a course over here, but it's 2 hours and 7 minutes. I realize I'm going to watch this guy, and then I'm going to watch another DJ as well. And then I can realize that I can help myself to manifest my dreams. But you have to understand something, guys. Recently I was writing my journal, and you have to understand that my DJing perspective in terms of music production and where I'm going for my music production is I have to make more music in order to get someplace to feel natural about my music talent. Because right now I'm just starting to get off the ground in terms of making music. I'm still in that phase of new learning. I'm still learning everything, and I'm still always going to be learning. The thing is that my music production talent right now has gone to a point where I'm better than yesterday in my music production. You understand? So luckily in Cairns, when I went to Cairns, I said to myself, let's make a music track going. I mean, let's just make something happen. And from that point, it just inspired me. I just inspired myself to come back to music production, because otherwise I would have lost all that money and time that I invested into music production. So it took me a good 4 years of music production to get to where I am today. And it took me a good amount of time, such as 4 years, to get anywhere close to even getting to a professional point. So right now I'm getting to that point where I'm getting much more professional at the moment. But the more music tracks I make now, the easier I go about it now. I'm understanding it's much more easier for me to make a music track now than ever before. And it's much more easier in terms of simplicity to be able to make things work out for myself. Do you understand? So you have to understand that there's a lot that goes into music production. Like I was teaching my friend over here, I said to him that first you have a learning curve. First you start off with no experience. Like you start off with a software, you have to learn the software. First you have to learn the software if you want to make music. And then once you learn the software, you still have a lot of learning to do. And you have to understand, I still haven't learned my software. I still have a lot of things to learn in my software. But I'm at the point where I can make music with my software. You understand? So I have all the tools necessary to be able to make a music track, for example. But the thing is that it's much more how I'm still learning my software. So you must understand that after 4 years of making music, I'm still learning all the software. You understand? I'm still learning exactly what this is and what that is and stuff like that. I'm understanding exactly how to record. I know how to record something. I know how to maneuver my way around the software, and that's what I mean. So you have to understand, as soon as you learn that, you're ready for music production. Do you understand? So you have to understand that you have to get yourself loops. I mean, you have to understand that what a loop is like a drum. I mean, you understand? So I mean, you have to understand that these loops you can buy at places. You can invest your money into loops, and you can get yourself these loops, and you can always repeat them in your tracks if you want. You understand? Or you can cut them. You can do whatever you want with them. But then what I done with this track recently is I started off with melody making. You understand? I started making melodies first. And you can start off a music track any way you want. Do you understand? But the thing is that when I started this track first, in terms of making the sound, I didn't know what I could do with it. But the thing is that it's much more how I like the sound how as it progressed forward. And I made lots of pluck instruments. I made 2 pluck instruments in it, and I had 1 lead instrument, and I had a bass line to it. And I shaped the sound to the way that I wanted to sound, for example. So I did some EQing, I did some side chaining, I did some compression and mastering on it, and I mixed it as well. And it's sounding nice and beautiful for me personally. I understand it's ready for a nightclub, and I'm understanding it's at 120 BPM. So that's my track, Danny Milivojevic, like no other, and it's in my original mix. But I love these kind of sounds where I can make instrumental music happen. And I'm understanding much better now how to use a color frequency with my music, for example, and how to transition into a next period of music for myself, and where the pad comes and why the pad comes there, and why the instruments like pluck sounds go with each other, for example, and which sounds go with which sounds, and how to smoothen up my music production by refining it in a way that it sounds good. You understand? So it takes a lot of work. But the moment you start making music for yourself is the moment that you go into the unknown. You go somewhere different. Like, you have to understand that it's much more how when I pull off a music track that's really sounding good, I'm much more proud of myself. I'm much more able to see exactly what I done and why I done it. You understand? And it sounds really good in terms of life. So you have to understand that it's much more when you're going through music production, you want to eventually DJ. You want to be able to eventually get into nightclubs and DJ, for example. So the thing is that with DJing, I learned recently in my journal, in my writing journal, and I wrote down and I said to myself, hey, make sure that you never hire a nightclub for yourself. Never hire a venue somewhere, because if you don't have followers, then nobody's going to show up. But what I did was I said to myself, hey, I'm going to hire a nightclub for myself, and then I'm going to make the entry for free. But the thing is that if you have no followers, then nobody's going to show up, even if it's for free. You understand? But the thing is that even if it's for free and people do show up, and let's say less people show up to your event, you have to understand that there is a thing about venues, that when you hire venues, you have to make money for the venue. So, for example, I called these guys up in Melbourne, and I asked them to DJ over there. I asked them how much is it to hire the venue, but they said it's around $1,000 to hire the venue. But they said that we have to make over $15,000 profit for the venue Otherwise, I have to fork out that money from myself to give to them. Do you understand? So if I don't make if I, apparently, so from that point, if I went over there and I DJ'd and it didn't go well, apparently I would have to fork out money of my own money to pay off $15,000 for that venue to profit. You understand? So that's what venues do these days, for example. So you have to understand it's much more how when you hire a venue, you have to make sure that the venue is profiting on your following and your type of transaction, for example. So you have to understand that when you hire a venue, you have to make sure that the venue profits from your DJing. You understand? So it depends on which venue it is, and every single venue is different. But there's a certain amount of money that you have to make for the venue once you hire the venue. So first of all, you have to pull out the $1,000. So let's just say $1,000 for every single venue that you want to hire. Okay, so let's say each venue that you want to hire is at $1,000 per night. So you put $1,000 into it. Okay, you make the free entry. Okay, and then what happens is you still have to make sure that the venue is profiting somehow. So the best way to have a profit margin for the venue is to price the tickets. So make sure you price the tickets for yourself for this venue that you're going to hire, for example, at the DJ event that you're going to DJ at, and that you're making around yourself. And you have to price those tickets so that you can pay off the venue, for example. You understand? So if you're unable to pay off the venue while you're DJing there, then they're going to ask you to give them that money. You understand? So make sure that what you need to do around DJing is DJ for free. Ask people to DJ for free at their venues. And what's going to happen is they're going to have a host of DJs DJ with you. You understand? So on the night, maybe 20 DJs are going to be there, and you're going to be the 21st one. And what's going to happen is they're going to give you 1 hour to prove yourself and stuff like that. And then you DJ for free, but you have the crowd there with you. And that's the best time to play music, for example. You understand? So you have to understand that there's a lot of learning to do in life. You understand? You have to learn a lot. But that's the interesting thing about it. When you learn so much in life about anything that you're interested about, you have to keep going. You have to push yourself. You have to understand. You have to stay hungry. You understand? So I wrote in my journal recently that if you want to make $1 million in your lifetime, or if you want to make $1 billion, you have to produce something. You have to be producing content every single day. You have to understand that what goes into your journals or what goes into your writing journal has to go into a video or an audio program somewhere, so that you can really, really backtrack, and so you can really, really reflect on your life much better. You understand? So you always have to understand, discipline yourself as much as you can every single day. Try to stay away from most of the foods out there, and stay away from drugs, for example, so you can have more money and so you can have more health, for example. But I'm getting to the stage now where my music is starting to lift off. I'm starting to lift off now. I have a better idea about how to make music and how to make sounds now. And I'm understanding much more easier how it is to do life with my music production now, for example. But the thing is that at the moment, nobody's listening to me except for me. In terms of nobody's listening to my music production much in life. But the thing is that eventually I will go and I'll make more music. And then once I get to the stage, I understand once I get to that stage where I make music and I make music albums and I really, really make music, for example, because I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to start making albums, for example. I'm not ready to start making those albums where my music is really sounding good, you understand? But at the moment, I'm understanding I can make something out of it. I can definitely make some albums for myself. But once I get to the stage where I can show my albums to people, I can then put it on Spotify. And then once I put it on Spotify, that's the moment where I'm DJing around people. You understand? So, for example, first of all, I want to be able to make music to a great expertise. I want to make content such as music to a great point before I go DJing and before I put it on Spotify. So before even DJing happens, I'm going to put my music on Spotify. You understand? So once it goes on Spotify, people can find it. And then I'm going to go DJ around places, and I'm just going to ask for free to DJ around places for free. And this way I'm just going to get known around people. So what I have to do is I have to get around people. You understand? I have to socialize with people. I have to get myself to a greater level. You understand? But with life coaching, for example, I'm gonna continue making life coaching videos and everything that I'm making, because I'm at the point of life coaching where I'm doing the best work. I mean, you have to understand that my life coaching material is the best work on the planet. You understand? Because it's words. You understand? And words are fluent, and words are everything. You understand? So I'm at the point where I can speak much more fluently, and I can make much more quality of everything in terms of music production, and also in terms of my speaking ability. And that's what I'm giving to the humanity. Do you understand? That's my job. I mean, that's my real job. Do you understand? But I have to make enough free content to be able to make that $1,000,000. Because if I don't keep giving out content for free, then I'm never going to price my work either. You have to understand that I want to keep doing my work for free all the way. And then maybe God starts putting people into my life who are going to say, interview me, and who are going to promote me, and because of my expertise and because of my way of life, they're going to be able to see a greater perspective from me, for example, because I can provide a lot of people information, for example, of my life and of stories that I have and stuff like that. And I can provide people good information about life in terms of what I've already provided you. I can provide that to other people in a different way. In a sense, so I'm getting to that point where I'm really developing myself really quickly. And some of my habits over here, I have to do better in my habits, for example. But the thing is that it's much more how I'm getting to the point where I'm getting richer. I'm getting richer in some extent. You understand? I'm starting to become much better in terms of what I'm doing. So what I want to do now is I want to watch this guy make music for 2 hours. I'm just going to watch it on the laptop, just make sure that I can pick up some skills from him in terms of how he makes music, because everyone makes music differently. And the more DJs you watch, in terms of the more you watch people make music, the better ideas you have for yourself in terms of what you can make. You understand? So that's what you have to refine. You have to understand it's much more how you can always live a life in a simple way, and you can always do things for yourself to make sure that you're growing. Do you understand? Because that's what you have to do. You have to grow no matter what. And you have to understand every single day is going to be a new day. So every single day is going to be something that is magnificent in your life to some degree. So for example, I understand that now with my music production and everything that I'm doing, I'm understanding I'm doing better. You understand? I'm doing better, and it's much more how I need to grow. So anyway, guys, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this audio program. I understand, is there anything else I want to give you in this audio program? I see it's much more how I'm just at the level now where I'm doing much better in terms of everything I'm doing. I'm making much more quality content, and I'm posting it to YouTube as much as possible. I'm posting all my content on YouTube. I have my 11th quote book online now on Amazon.com. You can check it out. You just go to Amazon.com.au, and you can find my audiobooks there, and you can find my quote books, for example, and you can find my material, and just write Danny Milivojevic. So you have to understand that you have to do a lot of free content before people even listen to you. You understand? So you have to make sure that you go out there as much as possible and produce as much as possible. Do you understand? But make sure you stay inside of yourself, because only you can fulfill yourself. Nothing of this world can fulfill you except you. I mean, you're saying you can only fulfill yourself. You understand? Nothing. I mean, never search out there for something to fulfill you, because that's death. Okay? You have to understand that death is out there. Inside is growth. You understand? The tree doesn't go outside of itself for itself to grow. A tree stays inside of itself to grow. Do you understand? You have to be rooted in yourself. Do you understand? Just like a tree. Just like a tree is rooted in itself, you have to be rooted in yourself as well. Because that's how you grow, guys. So the best growth material that I can give you every single day is make sure that you're always positive and that you're really always thriving in life. But I'm so glad that now I'm just getting to the point where I have that nice and beautiful dictionary going in terms of my life, in terms of all ways, and I'm able to enable myself to make whatever I want now in terms of music production. And I'm understanding it's much more how I'm trying to understand much more. I'm trying to get myself much more into that remedy. Do you understand? But that's what I need to do. And that's the whole point of life, isn't it? To get to some point where you're learning something. You know, saying when you get to that point, you just keep learning, you keep growing, you make sure that you're always persuading yourself to learn, and that's what you need to be doing. You have to learn images, you have to learn everything about life, and stay curious about life. I promise you, if you have nothing to do, stay curious about learning something. Always be reading a book, always be learning something. Do you understand? That's how you have to stimulate your mind. Do you understand? You have to live in the mind. Do you understand? You have to live in your heart. You have to understand that your heart is your mind. You understand? Live in yourself. Live and breathe and understand to live fully every single day. That's what you need to do. See, anyway, guys, so I just made a beautiful track. I made 2 tracks actually before I was talking before with you guys recently, and since then I made 2 tracks, and I'm really happy with how it's going with my music production at the moment. But what are my plans for the future in terms of music production? I mean, where do I want to go with it? I see it's much more how nightclubs are going away from me eventually, but I have 20 years. I have 20 years to make up 1 hour music track, in terms of to make 1 hour of music so that people can hear it. And now it depends on how much music I make. I already have 1 hour in music to be able to play at a festival or to be playing at a nightclub, for example. I already have 1 hour of that. So what do I need to do next with my music production? I realize it's much more how I need to get myself a DJ deck. And I need to rent out a DJ deck for myself. And from that point, I need to learn how to DJ my own music. And from that point, I understand it's much more how I have to ask people to DJ in a nightclub for free, so that I can do myself a favor, so I can help myself to grow. So where can I do that? I can do that in Australia. I can do that in Australia while just asking people to do me a favor like that. And now, I never ask for favors. I never ask for favors from people, but it's much more how I need to go the free way for myself. I need to be able to grow myself instantly with what I have. So what happens if I never make what happens if I never make the nightclub, for example? Then I'm still going to be doing my music production. I'm going to refine it. And how do I refine my music production? I do much more work around music production in terms of making more music is what I mean. So that's how I refine my music. By making more music, I learn some new tactics, I learn some new tricks, I learn some new skills. And from that point, it's much more about being able to express myself in all ways. So that's why I'm talking about this, because I have to talk about it to plan myself in terms of to plan my future and stuff like that. So it's much more how, if I don't make it into the nightclubs, then it's much more how I'm just going to post it to YouTube and just let it be. For me, it's much more about being able to make music in terms of just being able to produce as much as possible so I can post it up on YouTube. And I'm understanding that the following, in terms of the following I have, is growing to some degree. So I had 330 people see my YouTube channel in the past 28 days. So people are slowly starting to, let's say, come into my life and stuff like that, in terms of them being able to grow themselves with me, for example. So that's a nice and beautiful thing, that God's sending me people in terms of anybody who's really worthy of my material. So I'm understanding that once I post everything into the online world, I'm understanding more people can see what I'm on about. And that's the whole point. I need to express myself in music. I need to express myself in words. I need to dwell upon something better for myself. And I need to help myself get in shape again and just do better in terms of everything that I'm doing, in terms of a better way. So it's much more how I'm going to Frankfurt, Germany to see my mum. I'm going to ask my mum over here, I'm going to ask her to either come with me to Berlin so that I can go see Berlin, or I'm going to ask my mum so I can go alone to Berlin to a hostel somewhere and just walk it from there all the way to Berlin so I can see the streets of Berlin and stuff like that for myself for 2 days. Just for 2 days, to be able to go and see Berlin, to just walk around, see the place and stuff like that. So I'm going to ask my mum if I can have the opportunity to do that for myself. So I'm understanding that my trip is looking like this at the moment. I see it's either going to be Berlin, Sarajevo, Dubrovnik, Serbia, Belgrade, and also Serbia, where my family is, and Germany, Frankfurt, and Mainz, and Mostar. So that's how my nice and beautiful journey is going right now in terms of life. But I'm understanding that it's just the way it is. And then I'm going to Uruguay with my mum to see Uruguay a bit. So that's going to be a different story. So it's much more how I need to go and develop myself all the time, so that I'm really, really developing my skills and assets and stuff like that. But I've been listening to Les Brown recently, and he says you have to be hungry. You have to be hungry for success. And you have to understand that your words can inspire people. And that's what he says. So you have to make sure that every single day of your life that you're inspiring someone every single day, that you're uploading the most content possible every single day online, and that you're just doing your work. Do you understand? You have to be doing your work. You have to be really, really productive in daily life. And you have to understand that currently I smoke cigarettes, for example. But the thing is that in between myself over here, where I transcribe my quotes into online, what I do is I have myself a cigarette first. I drag a cigarette and then I write quotes. And then I drag a cigarette, I write quotes. So, for example, that's what you guys can do in terms of in between smoking. You can write your quotes down, and then you can also smoke cigarettes, for example. But the thing is, don't be a smoker. Make sure you never smoke cigarettes because it's a better health kind of thing. So make sure you understand it's all about having health in life. So all I really do, guys, is I put my reality into words. You understand? And from that, I grow. I become much more aware. So what are ways to quit smoking? For example, you have to understand that ways you can quit smoking is do something else instead. Be in the mind, be in the body, for example, and learn to just go without the need to smoke cigarettes, for example. That's what you guys can do. And help yourselves. I mean, understand that you don't need cigarettes to live life. It does nothing for you, as Alan Carr says. And you just have to always develop yourself every single day as much as possible, because that's what life is about. It's about expressing yourself daily and understanding how to do so. Do you understand? So, for example, in my life, I understand I have 2 weeks to go. I have to clean my teeth. I have to go to the bank today to get myself a travel card so that I can go and take out money in Germany and stuff like that. And so I can take out euros or whatever it is. And also, it's much more how I also have to go get a haircut. I have to get a haircut for myself twice more before I go to Germany. And also, I need to go Centrelink. I have to go to Centrelink government house over here and just tell them to be able to go and pull my medical certificate to the people so that they can see over here in their computers, so that they can see my medical certificate. I realized that the employment provider that I'm with has to see the medical certificate on their computer screen. So that's why I need to go to Centrelink to tell them to do that for me, so that I can help myself to not go to the employment provider for a bit. And it's much more how it is, guys. You have to understand, you have to develop yourself, you have to do things for yourself every single day. And you have to understand that it's much more about talking it out for yourself every single day, doing the most job in terms of the most work that you can for yourself, elaborating with yourself every single day to understand much more about life and understanding how to be alone. But how's my past week looked in terms of life? I promise you my most recent week has been full of work. I promise you I've been doing a lot of quotes. I've been transcribing a lot of quotes. I've also been developing myself in terms of words, and I've been doing a lot of uploading as well. And also I've been doing some content here and there. And that's what you need to do every single day. You need to do some content. You have to help yourself to succeed, and you have to always grow. You have to understand every single day is going to be a new day, and you have to treat yourself in a different way all the time. You have to treat yourself to something much more every single day. You have to always penetrate people with information as much as possible so that you're growing, because that's how you grow. So, for example, I understand now it's much more about writing more, and it's about making sure that every single day I produce as much content as possible so that I can help someone out there, so I can develop my sense of being, so I can really, really see myself doing much better in my life. And that's what I need to do. And that's all, guys. You have to understand every single day, just go and improve yourself every single day and live the best life possible. Do you understand? Because that's how you grow. You grow through what you say. Do you understand? What you say is what you do. You understand? That's all you need to understand about this audio program. And just understand every single day it's much more how you just grow yourself, and that's it. Guys, just make sure every single day you understand that it's all you have to do every single day is just develop yourself and nothing else.